What'd you say to Shilo Sanders after that ejection?
Well, you know you can't throw punches in this league. I mean, that's inexcusable. They're gonna get you every time. Got to grow from that.
And then what did you say to the officials after that? It looked like you were possibly trying to argue with them.
We're talking about another play.
The NFL has made its decision, and it's one that will send shockwaves through the league. Shilo Sanders, once viewed as part of the next generation carrying the Sanders legacy forward, now finds himself on the outside looking in. After a string of altercations that crossed the line, the league has officially stepped in with the harshest penalty possible, a career ban. For fans, for the Browns, and for the Sanders family name, the fallout from this ruling is only just beginning. TV ratings dipped nearly 21% in the Browns' last preseason matchup compared to the week before, a number that immediately drew attention once Shilo Sanders' absence was confirmed. For a franchise trying to hold onto national relevance, those numbers weren't just about one player. They signaled how much intrigue and tension Sanders carried with him every time he stepped onto the field. When the league moved forward with an official career ban, the shock wasn't only about discipline, it was about cutting off a storyline that had clearly become a driver of audience engagement. In an era where every percentage point in viewership translates to millions in advertising revenue, sidelining Sanders put Cleveland at a disadvantage both competitively and commercially. The announcement came directly from the top. In a statement echoed across every major sports outlet, the NFL confirmed the decision was based on Sanders' recent conduct and repeated altercations. The league has long emphasized protecting its brand under the "Protect the Shield" mantra, and Sanders' behavior had tested that philosophy to its breaking point. What set this case apart, though, was the swiftness of the ruling. Suspensions and fines are one thing. Lifetime bans are rare. For many players, the NFL stretches out investigations for months. Sanders' situation was expedited, reflecting how serious the league considered the optics of his altercations and how determined it was to send a message. Why this moment matters cannot be overstated. For Shilo Sanders, the NFL's official career ban isn't simply a punishment. It's the abrupt end of a trajectory that was still being written. A defensive back who had shown flashes of promise, Sanders was beginning to carve out his identity in a league where legacy already placed a spotlight on him. With Deion Sanders as his father and Shedeur Sanders rising rapidly as one of the most marketable young quarterbacks in football, Shilo carried both opportunity and pressure. The NFL's decision now severs his professional future, forcing him into the conversation of what could have been rather than what's next. The impact for the Browns is immediate and measurable. Cleveland invested developmental reps in Sanders during camp, giving him consistent time with starters to test his versatility. Coaches saw his physicality as an asset, particularly in nickel formations where speed and aggression at the point of attack can change a defensive series. With him gone, that plan evaporates. Depth in the secondary is thinner than ever, forcing the staff to accelerate the growth of rookies who were originally projected for special teams duty. In their most recent preseason game, Cleveland allowed 317 passing yards, a jump from 248 the week prior, suggesting that losing rotation pieces like Sanders already carries an on-field cost. When you put Shilo Sanders' ban into context, it immediately invites comparisons to past cases in NFL history, and those comparisons raise as many questions as they answer. Take Vontaze Burfict, for example. He developed a reputation as one of the league's most penalized players, with a string of fines and suspensions tied to dangerous hits and repeated altercations. Yet despite his long record, it took years before the NFL finally issued a season-long suspension, and even then, he was never permanently banned. Pac-Man Jones, another notorious case, faced multiple legal issues, off-field altercations, and even league-wide scrutiny over his behavior. But despite it all, he was allowed to return time and again, logging over a decade in the NFL. By comparison, Shilo's career-ending ban feels unprecedented, particularly because his altercations, while disruptive, don't seem to reach the same level of repeat severity as those earlier cases. That difference may be intentional. The NFL has shifted its public stance in recent years, placing greater emphasis on optics, social media visibility, and brand protection. Unlike Burfict or Jones, Sanders came into the league at a time when every incident is instantly clipped, shared, and dissected by millions. A sideline dust-up or post-game altercation no longer stays confined to the locker room. It trends worldwide within minutes. In that sense, the magnitude of his actions isn't just in what he did, but in how visible it became. A fight that might have gone largely unnoticed 10 years ago now turns into a viral talking point. For a league hypersensitive to protecting its image, the optics made his altercations appear larger than life. Sponsorships are often the first domino to fall when the NFL makes a disciplinary ruling of this magnitude, and Shilo Sanders' case was no exception. Within days of the official ban, at least 2 regional partners reportedly pulled back from Browns-related promotions that had featured him in preseason marketing material. While Sanders wasn't yet a national endorsement face like his brother Shedeur, his presence in localized campaigns showed how the Sanders name carried value. That value evaporated once the league's announcement hit the wire. The merchandise impact was even starker. Team stores saw Sanders' jersey moved from prime racks to clearance sections within a week. Online outlets slashed prices by more than 60% just to move remaining inventory. Thanks to his family name and the media coverage surrounding him, his jersey had been tracking closer to 7% of Browns' total preseason sales. Losing that slice of business may not cripple the franchise, but in a league where every percentage point translates into millions league-wide, it mattered. Betting markets also reflected the shift in real time. Prop bets tied to Sanders, such as interceptions or tackle totals, disappeared from sportsbooks the moment the ban was announced. More telling, though, was the overall decline in Browns-related betting volume. Data from one sportsbook showed a 38% dip in week-to-week betting handle for Cleveland games after Sanders was removed from the roster. This wasn't because bettors considered him a star, but because controversy drives action. Fans had been wagering not only on his play, but also on whether he'd be flagged, ejected, or involved in post-whistle drama. That speculative energy dried up overnight, costing sportsbooks and, indirectly, the league's betting partners meaningful engagement. Looking ahead, the future implications of Shilo Sanders' career ban are layered and far-reaching. For Cleveland, the immediate issue is depth. Defensive back rotations were already a concern entering the season, and Sanders' absence means players who were expected to contribute sparingly now face elevated responsibilities. That lack of depth may cost Cleveland in close matchups, particularly against high-powered AFC offenses. Projections from one analytics firm estimated that removing Sanders from the rotation increases Cleveland's defensive expected points allowed by 1.4 per game, a seemingly small number that can swing playoff races in a conference this competitive. Playoff odds are also subtly affected. Entering camp, Cleveland was projected by sportsbooks at around a 47% chance to make the postseason. After Sanders' removal, those odds slipped closer to 42%. While Shilo alone doesn't define the Browns' chances, the ripple effect of roster disruption, lost fan momentum, and the perception of instability compounds. Teams with even minor depth chart uncertainty are often penalized in betting markets, and that perception shift alone can drive millions in adjusted wagers league-wide. The NFL's decision to officially ban Shilo Sanders is more than just a disciplinary ruling. It's a defining moment that reshapes how the league enforces conduct, how franchises build rosters, and how fans perceive the balance between entertainment and accountability. For the Browns, it strips away depth and forces immediate adjustments, leaving coaches to scramble for solutions while trying to preserve playoff hopes in a loaded AFC. For the league, it marks a pivot towards swifter, harsher discipline in an age where viral clips and trending hashtags can magnify even minor altercations into national controversies. And for Shilo himself, it's the abrupt end of a career that once seemed full of potential, closing the door before he had the chance to prove himself on the field. What makes this case resonate isn't just the punishment, it's the contrast. Shilo Sanders becomes a cautionary tale of how quickly opportunity can vanish in today's NFL, especially when perception outweighs production. His family name, once a guarantee of attention and intrigue, now feels like a double-edged sword, amplifying his every move, good or bad, and ultimately contributing to his downfall. While Shedeur Sanders rises as a quarterback destined for stardom, Shilo's story will be remembered as one of wasted momentum and the unforgiving nature of the league he tried to break into. The takeaway is clear. In the modern NFL, no player is immune from the consequences of behavior that threatens the brand, regardless of legacy or marketability. Yet the decision also leaves behind difficult questions. Did the NFL act out of fairness and consistency? Or was this ban a strategic overreach designed to protect its image above all else? And perhaps the most important debate, in a league that thrives on personalities and storylines, can the NFL afford to keep cutting them out when controversy is often what keeps fans most engaged?